King, get your suit on.
Hello and welcome. Today I give you a warm welcome to Gemini Space's live stream live at Omelek Island. Today we'll be launching the first reusable version of our Motora launcher, which will be testing recovery capabilities of the booster of the Motora launcher. The island has been passing through some major changes along with the pad and other ground equipment, as you can see on your screen. Motora is one of our most small and reliable rockets, and today is your first flight with the recovery system installed. Weather is looking great out here at Omelek Island. Currently standing by for the go from mission control for weather and range. So currently looking really perfect for launch. Talking about the payload, we're launching PWSat-2, which is a terrain mapping satellite from Lautaki Space Industries. Once staging is done, recovery teams will go after the booster, catch it, and bring it back to land once the payload is deployed. Now, of course, the rocket for today will be the Motora launcher, so let's go ahead and talk about Motora. Motora is a two-stage liquid-fueled rocket with the intent of launching small satellites into a low Earth orbit. It's cheap and one of our most reliable launch vehicles ever made. Currently, at this time, we're at T-minus 8 minutes and 8 seconds. We're currently standing by for the strong back retraction, which should be coming up soon. So we're awaiting confirmation and mission control for strong back retraction. And so once that strong back retracts, you can see the structure right behind the rocket. We'll just tilt back 2 or 3 degrees away from the rocket. So that is just to make sure that at launch we won't collide with it. But yeah. If you didn't know already, Motora is a one engine. The first stage only has one engine, yeah, so that's very nice. And of course, it has 2 stages. The second stage, of course, also has one engine, a vacuum optimized engine, of course, as since at the time of staging will be in space. And on your screen, you see the strong back has retracted around 6 degrees away from Motra. This is just because at launch you don't want to collide with the strong back, of course, so we've just retracted it. Currently, what's holding up the rocket is the right below the engine. You see that little structure that's currently holding up the rocket upright. So if that's your answer, that's the answer to the question. If you're wondering what's holding up the rocket at this time, currently T-minus 5 minutes and 40 seconds away from launch. And if you're just tuning in, welcome to the Gemini space launch of Mothra and its maiden flight with its new recovery system. This recovery system will not be propulsively landing, of course. This will be taking a new way of recovery by using parachutes and splashing down safely in the water. This guarantees a 100% recoverability, as parachutes always work as long as they don't deploy. But as soon as they deploy, they are pretty much guaranteed to work. While with propulsively landing, you have to work with a lot of throttle control and fueling and this and that, and it's a lot more difficult. We'll be recovering this booster with speedboats, of course, and with recovery personnel on those speedboats. And those recovery personnel will be just going off to the motor, making sure it's in good condition, nothing looks out of the ordinary. And if it's good, we'll be standing by towing it and bringing it back to land, of course. Tanking operations will be ending here at around 3 minutes and 22 seconds. That'll be first stage tanking operations ending, and then the second stage at 3 minutes on the dot. 4 minutes and 10 seconds to go at this time. Currently 4 minutes and 10 seconds to go at this time. Looking good, looking good. Ground equipment currently looking good at this time, so very excited at this time. And we got the call out for mission control at this time. Whether it's go for launch, the go no go poll has already been committed at T-minus 5 minutes. All stations are go at this time. These stations include Ecom, GNC, Trajectory, all a bunch of stations that will be helping with today's launch, of course. So they've all reported that they're go for launch. So one we're going to go poll, of course, will be committed somewhere around the T-minus 3 minutes and 20 seconds area. So somewhere around there, that'll be the last go no go poll. Ground equipment is go at this time. And tanking operation for the first stage is complete. Ground comms is go at this time, 10 seconds. The second stage tanking operations completion. And tanking operation for that second stage is complete. Ground stations, ground systems are currently go at this time. Ground communications are go. Antenna uplink is go at this time. Most of our communication stations are very important, so that's why you're mainly hearing stuff that's related to communications. Staging, downlink, all go. The tank and booster conductor is also, has just reported he's go. He went 2 minutes and 25 seconds on the clock. Everything continuing to look good. And the console operator is now getting word from our flight director that telemetry is good. We're sending some test telemetry from the rocket to the satellites, and those satellites are getting the telemetry, pushing it to the mission control center, where they're just making sure that they're getting good comms with the vehicle. Now that is complete, they are currently go for launch at this time. Ground power units are off at this time. And FTS is armed, flight termination system is armed. Everything continuing to look good at this time. Very exciting. 1 minute and 10 seconds to go. T-minus 30 seconds to go. Everything continuing to look good. You'll hear some some launch control callouts for missile control, launch control, missile control. T-minus 17 seconds to go. 15. And 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff of Baltimore on its maiden flight with our new recovery system. And there we go. Machine motor now clearing the pad on its way on its journey into space. Engine power telemetry looking nominal at this time. Power telemetry also looking nominal at this time. And motor is now on pitch kick maneuver. Standing by for max Q. That's coming up in around 8 to 7 seconds from now. And max Q. Throttling down. And we're throttling down to 74%. 74.3% to be exact, of course. Power telemetry is nominal at this time. Engine power telemetry is nominal. Rate of ascent is nominal, and thrust from that first stage engine is looking good too. At this time, the recovery teams are not getting on the boat, and they will be on their way to.
Maybe we might get something like that.
Station confirmed at this time, Miko, of course. So we just had the triple, we had main engine cutoff, state separation, second engine ignition. First stage now beginning its flight back home. Second stage continuing its flight. Booster is now going to begin its re-entry period, reaching heat up to 3,000 degrees around the booster, so it's going to be quite hot. And that's 3 minutes.
Oh yeah.
Rate of ascent looking good. Our orbit parameters are looking good on that second stage. Everything continuing to look good at this time. Boosters now in re-entry phase. You can see the re-entry particles all around, and we're out of re-entry phase. Parachute deployed.
Dude, did you ever feel like you got stuck there?
Visual 1 drogue out. We're using drogue parachutes, of course, as it is not really needed to use some expensive main parachutes, and this is good enough for the job. Our next major event should be SECO, payload separation, and getting comms back with the payload. And that second stage is still firing as we continue to speak. Continuing to look good. That first stage now beginning its parachute descent home. Rate of descent is nominal. And flight termination system, of course, on that second stage is saved. And of course, it's also saved on that first stage as ground teams are right below it and we don't want any debris hitting them. Engine cutoff. Payload separation confirmed at this time. Will not be handing it over to Lotaki Space and Science Organization to take comms with the payload. We think the range and the FAA for approving today's launch of our motor launcher and for approving our recoverability test. We thank, of course, thank our payload customer, Lotaki Space and Science Organization, for flying with Motor today. Thank you for watching this webcast, and that is out from Gemini, and that's it from Gemini Space. And currently back with recovery commentating at this time. Speedboats now on their way to stage 1. We will not be talking about the payload or about the second stage in this period of the webcast. We'll only be talking about recovery. Recovery now underway, of course. If you're just tuning in, the red speedboat, one speedboat with 2 recovery personnel on board. The recovery boat's still a few miles out away from the first stage. So we still have a long way to go, of course, but everything continuing to look good at this time. Mission Control now reports, of course, that we've had a nominal deorbit of that second stage. That will not be recovered, of course. Maybe in the future, but that will be burning up in the atmosphere, of course. And we're standing by for the splashdown and motor that's coming up in around 15 to 10 seconds. And there's 200 meters. Eight seconds to go. 4 seconds to go. 2 seconds to go. And splashdown.
He said yes, but I cannot go over any.
And standing by for parachute cut.
Oh no. Yeah, I'm not in this class.
Parachute cut confirmed. You can see the booster drifting a little bit, of course.
Well, maybe.
It'll slow down soon, of course, though.
I didn't even ask him for anything. Already you said sorry, I can't go over. It can't go over the test at all.
And 7 minutes, 50 seconds into flight. We've had a full stop here in the water for Motra. Recovery boats are still continuing their journey to the Motra launcher. The waves, of course, are a bit rough today, so if you do see some more movement, that is, of course, because of the waves. But, of course, our mission control team has highly gone over the weather of our recovery zone, and they do believe that it is still safe for recovery, of course.
Someone more for time rather than accuracy.
FTS, of course, is safe. Flight termination system is safe on the first stage. We don't want any debris hitting the recovery personnel nearby, so that is why we've saved the FTS. And there's no need to, of course, since we have splashdown. Of course, this booster will not be flying on the next mission right away. It'll be taking some time in our assembly building where we'll be refurbishing it. So we'll be just testing the engines, making sure they are still at good health. So stuff like that will be underway. And yeah. And recovery personnel still under the bay. Booster has been located at this time.
Wait, there's no specific due time for the year.
Radar system showing good signal at this time. Once recovery personnel do arrive at the boat, they will be just taking an assessment, looking at how it is, and etc. Still continuing to look at T plus 10 minutes, 37 seconds. Just 10 minutes ago, we had the launch of Mothra. In 11 minutes. Everything continuing to look good. Ground visual on the booster confirmed at this time. The reason why it's taking very long to get to the booster is because the booster is flashed down far away from land, of course. So the boat currently is seen from the first stage camera. The boat is currently seen. Recovery personnel are now arriving at the first stage, thankfully. After a long journey, now as I was saying before, the reason why it takes very long to get to the first stage is because the first stage lands in it's very far away from the habited area, like the visitors area and the launch pad, because we do not want to affect. We don't want to just hit people. We don't want it to land, of course, on people. So and we've arrived at the recovery personnel has arrived at the first stage. And currently having some technical difficulties at this time. And currently having some issues with recovery at this time. Functions at this time with the recovery team at this time. It seems like our recovery system, recovery personnel is currently undergoing very many issues, multiple issues. So we're standing by for the call out from the recovery teams to see if they are okay. It seems like they have gone into the water at this time. We're not aware. And thank you all for coming to the launch. Recovery will not be underway. So thank you for coming.
Probably have like